Well, now let's come to the place that I think is the crescendo of the passage. Let's come to the commentary. Here you're going to see, again, Jesus giving explanation, the commentary on the passage. Again, verse 14, as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, so that whoever believes in him will have eternal life. Friends, we've got to go back to Numbers chapter 21. Let me just give you a quick synopsis of what's happening here. The folks that have been carried out through the Passover, remember Jesus was just at the Passover feast, drawing the contrast. The folks that had been taken through that process of the Passover, who were now in the wilderness for 40 years because they've been grumbling and denying God. These folks now are getting to the point where they're grumbling so much. Now don't miss this. The people who were saved and rescued out of Egypt, the people who walked across the dry bed of the Red Sea, those who have seen and felt the very power and presence of God. Hello, Western Church. Those people, now Numbers 21, they're grumbling and complaining because God isn't good enough to them. Hello, Western Church. And so God sends snakes down upon the people. And they begin to get bitten and die. And then they come and say, Moses, sorry, we've been talking trash about you and about God. Please, 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 go to God on our behalf and ask him to relent. And Moses does. Hello, Western Church. And God says to Moses, you're to make an image of a serpent, not the real thing, an image of it. And you're basically to put it on a post and lift it high. And you tell the people that every person who looks upon the elevated symbol, I will save. Why would Jesus say this to Nicodemus now? Friends, because what God was doing in Numbers 21 was foreshadowing what Jesus is about to do. And he's telling Nicodemus, an expert in the Old Testament, I am the one. And you, Mr. Religious Big Shot, you who's very comfortable in the church, you who could teach others, you who know all the things about church, but don't recognize me as Christ. Listen, here's the thing. Just like back then, a symbol of sin will be elevated, this time on a cross. And through no merit of their own, the very people who were trash-talking and denying me can receive the saving grace, the mercy, the miraculous mercy. I will save those who do nothing more than look upon me with trust and faith. Jesus is telling Nicodemus, this is what is about to happen again. In fact, Nicodemus, what you see in Numbers 21 was not an isolated incident that we now somehow try to explain. That had a purpose right here. That had a purpose right here, of pointing to this day, right here, which is pointing us both to right here on the cross. Do you see the context? Not only in the conversation, but here in the commentary. This is the truth for you and me. And don't miss this point, because here's where the context really begins to blossom. Not only is the message here that the gospel is one size fits all. Here's the point. God is not a respecter of persons. And no matter who you are or who you are not before Christ, it will make no difference. The only thing that's going to matter is whether or not you believe and receive me, the Word who became flesh and dwelt among us. This is what Jesus is saying. This is the point. I share this with you as well. Back to our line. Now I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into where we're going, but it's important for you to understand the context and the validity of what I'm telling you. If you now come to our dots in our line, and you think about it in terms of the message here is that it doesn't matter who you are, starting in the church, it doesn't matter how much Bible you know, it doesn't matter how long you've been a pastor, it doesn't matter if you've been to seminary, it doesn't matter. It matters who I am, says Jesus, in your life. Am I your Lord? Period. Are you putting your trust in me alone? Watch what happens. Now the context, let's say we're with Adam and Eve in the garden, Genesis 3:15. We're with Abraham, we're with Moses, we're with Ezekiel, we're with Malachi. Now we're with Nicodemus. You're going to see in the coming weeks, we're going to be with a woman at a well. We're going to be with some other Samaritan men. We're going to be with an official whose son is dying. We're going to be with a lot of people who the very same message is going to come to. Nicodemus, it doesn't matter how much you know or how comfortable you are in the church. Woman at the well, it doesn't matter how many times you've slept around or what you've done. Samaritan men, it doesn't matter how much you doubted before you came to meet me. Roman official, it doesn't matter how sick your child is. It doesn't matter who the person is when the Prince of Peace becomes their king. This is the commentary that is being shared.